Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, as you know, we are going to start chapter number 19, behavior. So, first of all, I would like to tell you the definition of behavior. Behavior is basically your response as a result of some external stimuli which is produced by your body. Behavior is not only your response physically, but it is also generated as a result of some genetically modified stimuli. Or the other definition of behavior is it is defined as a change in response to a specific stimulus or the sum of everything that animals do. And all the activities that are performed by living organisms, especially the animals, they are related to some external stimuli which are received by the outside environment. Here is another definition. Behavior means the response of an organism to signals from its environment, including those from other organisms. So as you know, there are different type of relationships between organisms to the environment as well as the relationship between organisms to other organisms. There are basically two types of behaviors. First one is called innate behavior and the other is called learning behavior. Innate behavior is predetermined. It means it is the set of information that is already kept in your body or which is instinctively present in your body at the time of your birth. On the other hand, a learning behavior is something that an organism learns from its environment, from its surroundings, and from the social behavior. If we talk about the innate behavior, so here is an example. All plants shows a type of behavior which is called innate behavior. For example, the movement of different parts of the plant towards different stimuli. In innate behavior, organism continues its growth and activities despite of any change in external environment. This is very important point which you have to keep in your mind. For example, the behavioral patterns of a plant, for example, its chemical reactions which are occurring in the cytoplasm, all are examples of innate behavior which are not controlled by any outside, any outside stimulus. So, these behaviors are transferred from generation to generation. We have to talk about the nature of the behavior. The entire pattern of responses which are made by an organism to a set of stimuli of its environment is called behavior. Once again, here is a very good definition of behavior. Now we have to discuss the relationship between stimuli and behavior. So first step in the whole process is the reception of a stimuli, of a stimulus. For example, when a stimulus is given to a specific organism, how it is received and how it is interpreted. Then comes interpretation and response to the stimuli. That once the stimulus has been received by an organism, how it will be handled or it will be interpreted, and how it will be sent to the higher centers of the brain, and how it will tell the person or the organism to respond as a result of that particular stimulus. Then comes the different ways of responses. So all these points will collectively forms the relationship between stimulus and the behavior of an organism. Then we will talk about the relationship between heredity and behavior. All behaviors depend upon nerve impulses, hormones, and other physiological mechanisms such as sensory receptors. So, the receptors which are present in certain organs of the body that we have discussed previously, they are involved in making up a behavior of an organism. And a very important point here is the role played by genes. Genes which are present in your DNA, they also determine the specific developmental processes and behaviors of the organisms. For example, genes play a role in the development of behaviors because they direct the development of the nervous system. In addition, there are certain autonomic responses which depend on specific nerve pathways within central nervous system of an organism. And these pathways are genetically determined, and these are the neural programs which are controlled by the nervous system. Even the capacity of learning is determined by the inheritance, or it also is inherited. For example, different members of the same species, they vary in the expression of certain behaviors because of variations in the genes. So every organism has a certain set of genes which will specify the specific type of behavior of that particular organism. These behaviors have the survival values in some environments. For example, some of the innate behaviors which are in your body at the time of your birth, along with some learning behavior from the environment, collectively increase or enhance the survival value of that particular organism. Because some of the innate behavior and some of the uh, learned behavior from the outside environment will help us know how to survive in a particular area and how to adapt in that particular area, and how the rate of survival can be enhanced. For example, one of the survival behavior is curiosity, which also increases the survival value of a particular organism, because when we become curious for something, we crave for it and we want to find that particular thing. This is the curiosity. And some organisms, some out of us are always more curious as compared to others. Curiosity means that something we want to learn, something we want to know about something. Heredity has important role in intelligence Some people or some persons are more intelligent at the time of the birth, or when they are born they are more intelligent as compared to some other persons. In the same way, moodiness, shyness, impulsiveness, the aggression and the aggressive behaviors, they all are innate and they all are transferred from the parents to their offsprings. And these behaviors also depends on parenting, means how the brought up of a person has done and how the person is brought up by his or her parents, and what traits have been induced in him or her, or what traits are in his genes. So then comes the biological clocks and biological rhythms. These are the behavioral activities that occur at regular intervals, or that occurs or repeats themselves after a regular period of time. These are called the biological clocks or biological rhythms. Biological clock is the internal mechanism by which a rhythmic phenomenon occurs and is maintained even in the absence of the apparent environmental stimulus, is termed as a biological clock. So there is no need of any environmental stimulus. The biological clock is set in the body of an organism when it's born. Now, if we talk about the biological clocks, which are also known as the biorhythms, there are three different types of these biological clocks. In the living things, the behavior activities occur at regular intervals. So these intervals can be of 24 hours, more than 24 hours. They can occur after a month, or they can also occur after a year. So, on the basis of these time intervals, they have been classified as circadian rhythms, which occurs about 24 hours after the first cycle. These are called circadian or diurnal rhythms. Then comes the monthly rhythms. If the biorhythms occur every month, these are called monthly rhythms. For example, the weight changes in a person or the menstrual periods observed in the females. Then comes the circannual rhythms, which occurs about 365 days after the first cycle, and these annual cycles include the migration of different animals, especially the birds, the reproductive activity, that is when an organism gives birth to its offspring, or the hibernation of an animal which can last for 1 year. These circadian rhythms are controlled by specific centers which are present in the specialized regions of the hypothalamus, and these regions are called SCNs, the suprachiasmatic nuclei. It takes information on the lengths of the day and night, interprets it, and passes it to a gland. And the gland, as a result, would release certain hormone. So the release of the hormone was a response. Now if we talk about the circadian rhythms, there are two further types. One is diurnal and the other is nocturnal circadian rhythms. Diurnal is which takes place during the daytime, and the nocturnal behavior is that takes place at the time of, that occurs at night time. For example, animals like honeybees and pigeons are most active during the daylight, hence they are called diurnal animals. On the other hand, the animals like owls, bats, and pigs, they are most active during the night, thus they are called nocturnal animals. The second type is crepuscular circadian rhythms. For example, the animals like fiddler crab are busiest during the time of dawn and dusk, and both are therefore called as crepuscular animals. So there are three times of the day when the different types of organisms are active or less active: diurnal, nocturnal, and crepuscular circadian rhythms. Now we will talk how these biological rhythms are controlled. These rhythms are controlled, or they are originated as a result of some exogenous stimuli, endogenous stimuli, and exo and endogenous or synchronized stimuli. So we will talk about them one by one. Some biorhythms are due to changes in the external stimuli. These are called exogenous. And some biorhythms are due to the changes in the internal stimuli. They are called the endogenous stimuli. And some are controlled by both endo and exo. Normally, the internal rhythms work in synchronicity with the exogenous period. So, the internal stimuli and the external stimuli both work in coordination with one another. This is called the synchronization mechanism or the synchronized stimuli. So, this was all about our today's lecture. Thank you so much. We will continue with the innate behavior tomorrow, inshallah.